Hello, Leo. Welcome to Soul Good. Thank you so very much for being here. It's a blessing and pleasure to be joining you today. Please do trust that when you've found yourself here, there are likely to be messages within the contents of this video for you. I would encourage you to use your discernment, take what resonates with you, leave the rest. Please do not make it your story if it isn't. Leo gang, we have so much to talk about, which I'm sure is no secret based on all of my notes here. I'm not actually going to go through everything I've written down simply because that would be a very lengthy video, as I've discovered. So I am going to do the best that I can to share with you what has come through and leave the rest up to you, okay? So I want to give you the biggest, squishiest, hardest hug you've ever had in your whole life. I really want to hug you so hard because I feel as though you have been through it. And when I say you've been through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to go deep into specifics. You know. If this is for you, you know. The Leos I'm speaking to within this collective, you are likely more aware. You are likely emotionally mature, emotionally responsible, emotionally intelligent. You've likely been doing a lot of healing work, and you are less driven by your lower egoic drives. That's not to say that you are 100% healed, you're enlightened, there's nothing left for you to learn. No, that is not who I'm speaking to. These Leos are less driven by their trauma, their wounding, their programming. And that comes from a lot, and I mean a lot of work, a lot of internal spiritual work. These are Leos who have learned to love themselves, to give to themselves. Leos who are aware that they deserve more than the bare minimum or scraps. They've begun to see the value in the heart of gold that they carry within them, and that not everyone should have access to their energy. Not everyone should have access to that heart of gold that Leo carries. You are not a 7-Eleven. You're not a 24/7 buffet where people can just come get full up off a Leo and then dip out. No, you have been doing work on yourself, and very likely in collaboration or in partnership with a strong, intimate relationship with God, with your angels, with Christ. This is not something that you've done on your own, and you know that you could not have done it on your own. And I don't mean you haven't done it on your own as far as physical, material, worldly support, because in that sense, it's actually quite likely that you have been alone. But you have not been able to arrive at this level of awareness, at this level of appreciation, at the very least, for yourself without God, without angels, without Christ. And you know that, which is why I made that very clear distinction that this message is not going to be for Leos that are driven by their ego. So you're likely someone who is, the way that it's being shown to me is very much like, and I find this comical, the way the way God and the angels work, right? Because, you know, God's going to use things that you can resonate with. It's going to make sense to you. You're going to get it right off the cuff. And to me, it's just a bit, it just made me chuckle. And I'm saying this, by the way, as a double Leo. So just know I'm not poking fun. But the way that it's been shown to me is as this older lion in the wild. If you've ever seen those older male lions who are, we'll say, getting ready to retire from their position of defending the pride, they are scarred and battered and they look tired AF. And that is what you look like. I don't mean you look tired, Leo. You're beautiful, I'm sure. Okay? But the way that you look from a spiritual perspective is you've been through it. You have been through these battles, and those scars, that battered look to you is earned. It is a sign to those who can see in the spirit that you don't play. You are not the one, okay? Because you have been through it. You know how to discern evil from good, right from wrong. You are not the one to toy with because you have been taught, you have learned how to navigate those battles and to come out victorious. So when these other forces see you, where you are now, this may have not been true in the past, but the way that you show up in the spirit now, after what you've been through, going inward, diving into your darkness, diving into your trauma, diving into your wounds, facing your demons head on, and overcoming them in the spirit, it's like, ooh, Leo is not the one. We're just gonna step back. We're just gonna leave that one alone because there's no winning with that one. That one's like a freight train. That one will see right through what we're trying to do and blow right through it. Right? I hope this is making sense. I feel like if you know, you know, because you're unmatched, Leo. The way that you step, the way that you move through the world, the heart that you have, the courage that you have, the love that you have, the strength that you have, the conviction that you now have is unmatched. This may have started out in your childhood as being this unmatched level of compassion and love, and really feeling very isolated, very alone, as if no one understands you, and being very confused about why others don't love like you do, don't feel like you do, don't show up like you do, aren't loyal like you are. You may have gone through your experience previously being a doormat of sorts, or feeling like that. Feeling as though there are those, again, as I was sharing earlier at the onset, coming in, filling up on Leo, getting high, feeling great, and dipping out, and then coming back when their plate's empty again. You may have experienced that. But here's the thing. The reality is all of the things that you've experienced have been preparing you. It has been preparing you. Oh my good God, has it been preparing you? And I feel as though what it's been preparing you for is unlike anything you've ever experienced in your life. It's very likely that there are those of you who would resonate with feeling as though God has been working on you. Christ, the angels have been working on you for some time and have been revealing to you certain truths about your experience, about reality, about people in your reality. And you may have found through this experience that what you were hoping to feel, what you were hoping to see, what you were hoping to have reciprocated back to you by those around you, your family, your friends, your lovers, you name it, whatever it is for you, has actually been reciprocated by God. Does that make sense? Now, of course, God's love, the angels' love, Christ's love is not something that we can truly fathom from this physical perspective. And so I'm not trying to minimize that at all. But what I'm saying is what you are seeking externally has been left unfulfilled. But you've found it through God, through Christ, through the angels. The love that you have given seems to be being returned to you through God's love, through Christ's love. There's a feeling for some of you, and perhaps these are wounds that you have been working on healing, of abandonment and rejection, but finding that Christ is always there. You may have experienced being abandoned or rejected or just completely ignored by people in your external reality, but have been since discovering again that God remains the constant. Christ, the angels remain the constant. They're always there. And so you may now be in this position where you are reliant in a way upon God, Christ, the angels, full well knowing, by the way, that this is coming from within you. God is within you. Christ is within you. This is not some kind of looking for a savior outside of myself type of energy. That's not what this is. This is a intimate, deep, beautiful, loving partnership, relationship with that which is much greater than yourself, realizing that it all exists within you. It works through you, but still having that deep reverence for it. I hope, you guys, I really hope this is making sense, because this truly has been a lot for me to unpack. So I got this heavy feeling of Atlas, Greek mythology, right? The weight of the world, having to carry the weight of the world, the weight of the heavens on your back. You may have felt that way simply because the energy that I'm picking up on has this uphill battle, this feeling of, oh, like I said earlier, being battle worn, battle after battle after battle after battle, struggle after struggle after struggle. That's not to say that you haven't been able to come up for air every once in a while, that you haven't had moments of happiness or joy or, things like this, but it doesn't feel long lasting. It feels as though it has felt like one wave after the next, and only getting short periods of time where you feel as though you're able to just breathe. There's a feeling of survival mode for some of you. It was also coming through to me in the form of a quote from a movie called Howl's Moving Castle. Excellent movie, by the way. But the quote is, "A heart's a heavy burden." And that feels as though it rings true for you, Leo, and has for your entire life. I repeatedly was getting this message of Leo asking, I don't understand what's so hard about this. Why can't you just fill in the blank? And it has to do with matching your level of devotion, matching your level of love, matching your level of authenticity, matching your level of loyalty, matching your willingness to give, your generosity. Why can't you just show up this way? And having these experiences that for some of you are just evil. They just really are. I'm going to call it like I see it. You have likely been someone who has experienced a lot of spiritual warfare. Again, battle worn. And the beautiful thing about it is it feels as though you actually may be someone who has been able to find forgiveness. That's not to say you've forgotten, but you've been able to find forgiveness for situations that, again, were downright evil. It's coming to this space of being unwilling to allow what you've experienced to harden or darken your heart. There is a feeling of having this heart of gold. Again, it brings me back to a heart's a heavy burden, and yours is likely to be quite heavy because you have a heart of gold. This has come through the form of several songs which painted this picture for me. I will link those in the notes below under soundtrack if you want to give them a listen in the order that they came through. But I do want to share with you lyrics from Monster by an artist called Flawless Real Talk. And this is a cover. The original song is called Monster 2.0 by Jacob Banks. You may want to check that out as well. It's also very good. But the lyrics that I want to share with you say, I don't even want to kiss and tell, but I've been through hell, and I know they made a monster out of me. For my old friends that used to sit and laugh about all the dreams I used to say I had, never thought their face would ever split in half. See, now I'm not around, never come around, I'm too good. Did I forget to add? Did what I had to do and subtracted you once I did the math. They made a monster out of me. Every empty promise, empty dollars, every lie that was followed after let's be honest, every plan that was put together just for commas, I've been praying for the best regardless, telling God, let them sleep in their best pajamas. Nightmares of me winning is the best of karmas. Those lyrics alone really give this beautiful summation of how this was coming through to me. Again, all of these songs have contributed to what I've been shown about what you've been experiencing. But this one really drives it home. It really, really does. Because there's a feeling of, again, learning how to love yourself and learning to discern who's who and separating yourself or being set apart from. You could have even wanted to continue certain relationships or situations, and God could have been like, no way, not happening. Nope, you can't be there. Nope, you can't do that. So even if you have wanted to carry on in some of these situations, it feels like God set you apart. God's like, not you. Nope, sorry, can't happen. And I feel like that has been to purify you. I feel like you've gone through this purification process, that's this deep, intense, transformative process where the capacity that you have for love has just been expanded upon. Your heart's capacity has just been expanded upon. Christ has been working on breaking your heart open, if you will, even further, even more, pushing you to the limit, especially with regard to love for yourself. And I feel, again, all of this has had to take place because it feels to me as though God wants to use you. The angels, Christ, want to work through you. And in order to do that in a way that is actually going to fulfill God's purpose, you have to be at this level of purification. You have to be this more purified vessel where you are not going to be easily swayed, distracted, or deterred by external forces or by your own internal wounding. If you are carrying around all of this baggage, if you're carrying around this trauma, this wounding, this programming, that is what lower egoic drives will tug on. That is what those more malevolent, lower, darker, evil forces will pull on to try to manipulate you. That's where this whole kind of God has been working on you comes in. And where in your most recent past, you've likely really been going through it. Really. And I struggle to say that, Leo, because I feel as though this has been your life experience. And just when you think it doesn't get harder, it does. So I feel as though saying that is like, I don't even know how, I don't even know. It just feels so, it just feels like it doesn't even really scratch the surface. Okay. It doesn't feel, saying that doesn't feel like it truly embodies what you've experienced, because I feel like you've been through it for a while. All of that, though, has been to, again, further expand your heart, but also to give you the discernment. It is probably getting easier and easier and easier for you to be able to discern dark from light, good from bad, love from evil. And again, it's been orchestrated this way because moving forward, you're going to be experiencing life in a very different way. And this level of discernment is going to be something that is required of you. The reason I say that is because there may be those coming to you with their hand out or banging on the doors of the buffet that you closed. Leo, let me in, I'm hungry. And you have to be willing. You have to have the discernment. You have to have the courage. You have to have the strength to be able to say, no, it's not happening. I'm not opening the door. You can't come in. Sorry, sweets. I learned that lesson. I don't need another t-shirt. Thanks. I love you. I'm praying for you. Good luck. Figure it out for yourself. That's not to say you're going to be this tyrant, okay? That's not to say that you're going to have your nose up, but it is going to require you to be able to discern and to make these rather difficult decisions. Why? Because if God wants to use you as a vessel, Christ wants to work through you, the angels want to work through you, you cannot just be letting anybody all up in your space. You cannot just be running around amok, all willy-nilly, saying it's a free-for-all. You can't. You just can't. God cannot use you the same way if your energy is all muddied up. Okay? So it feels as though this has been orchestrated. And this has been shown to me in several numbers. I took these notes for your messages a few days ago. And even just before coming into record, I was seeing numbers again. So God is showing up to say, the angels are showing up to say, I said what I said. You may be seeing these numbers, and this could be further confirmation for you. So 144 was showing up, and biblically, that symbolizes completeness and perfection, the fullness of God's divine plan and purpose. 144 is often associated with God's chosen people, or the remnant, and the fulfillment of God's promises. So this brings me back to the final song that showed up for you. 144 showed up with the first song that I had come in, which was Better Days by, I believe how you say this artist's name is Armin 𝒂𝒃. Forgive me, I'm probably botching that. And it comes full circle with the final song that came in through the lyrics, which is a song called Lion Tribe. I'm not going to even try to pronounce this artist's name, but it will be linked below. And those lyrics are 144,000 coming through the sun, bringing in the 𝐶𝐈𝐿 as the one, bringing in the truth and the love, it's been done. Look into my eyes, y'all, we already won. And the message that I get with that not only resonates heavily with that 144, of course, but also, I mean, it's called Lion Tribe, so there's that, bringing through that Christ energy. Also, the message that came through with that is heart of the sun. In order to do whatever work Christ has for you, the angels God have for you, it's like you have to be able to hold that Christ love. And I'm not saying that you can fully carry that, but I do feel like in order for Christ to really come through you the way that is needed according to God's plan and God's purpose, it's more than just knowing it. It's carrying it to a degree, which I feel is something that's going on with you. The other number that was coming through quite heavily, and again, one that I saw as I came in to record this, is 222. And as I wrote down 222, I heard, for a time such as this. There is another message that I shared more recently, which I will link below in the notes as well, with that title. So you may want to check that out if that resonates with you, or the number 222 resonates with you. So 222 is often connected to what's called a jubilee. And so it's a specially celebrated anniversary, typically a 50th, but it refers to a season or occasion of joyful celebration. And I feel as though this is what you are coming up on. If you are a Leo who experiences this season or occasion of joyful celebration, it has been earned. It has been earned. And if that is for you, please do come back and let me know in the comments below. Couple of other numbers I want to mention before we dive into the cards, one being 234. This is telling me that things are already moving. It was shown to me as like competitive diving, right? So being up on that block before they dive into the water, you're already off the block, right? Things have already started moving. 2 being a number of balance, 3 being one of completeness, 4 being one of stability. Whatever this looks like for you, however this shows up, this jubilee, this occasion of joyful celebration, whether it is physical or spiritual, emotional, mental, whatever it is, I feel as though it's going to bring in this level of balance, completeness, and stability. That's not to say that you still won't experience challenges or struggles, but it does feel as though you are moving more toward a season where you are experiencing more of those energies, more balance, more completeness, more stability. And as I was sharing previously, in ways that you have not yet experienced. The final number I want to share with you is 345. And this again was just basically God, the angels, Christ saying, I said what I said. 345, that confirmation of movement, but you are further ahead than what you think or believe yourself to be. This more recent period of your life, it may have been through 2024. I feel like this is the case for a lot of people, Leo or not. You may have went through this initiation. With that 345 energy, I got the word initiate. I feel as though you have been being initiated, and it's not just this one and done. You have been going through this initiation for what feels like your entire life, and looking back on it, if you are truly one of these Leos who have been prepared to do this work on behalf of God, on behalf of Christ, to allow these forces to move through you, it is likely that you can look back on your life and see how this has been unfolding. That being said, moving forward, things are likely to look a lot different. Once this really gets rolling, you may never experience things the same, because I feel like the point is for you to be this anchor of sorts, this anchor of compassion and kindness, this anchor of loyalty, this anchor of courage and strength, to have this love for those around the planet. And here's the thing. According to the work of Rudolf Steiner, we are the 10th order in the hierarchy of angels, and we are meant to be the spirits or the angels of brotherly love and freedom. We as human beings are meant to be evolving and preparing ourselves to take that position. We have a ways to go, certainly. So it feels as though this is part of your mission. This is part of what you're doing here, is to be that anchor, to hold the line as someone who is battle worn, as someone who has faced evil, not only outside, but inside of yourself as well. Because as a Leo sun, Leo moon, I know that shadowy side of Leo can get real dark, real dark. So being someone that has had to face that darkness, you have been prepared to face it moving forward while anchoring in to that love and holding that line. I know this is big. I know this may be a lot to wrap your head around, but if you are here, you already know to some degree what I'm talking about. You have felt it. You've probably felt your heart space expanding. You've probably felt Christ and the angels working around you, working with you, working through you. You have probably received certain divine instruction. You may be someone who has felt more called to be divinely obedient, right? If God says go left, you're going left. If God says sit still, you sit still. It has been a preparation, and I cannot wait to see what you do with it, Leo, because to me, based on what I'm picking up on, based upon what I'm feeling, it's about time. And I can't wait to see how brightly you shine. Whether this is something that is for the masses, if it's something you're doing from behind a microphone or a camera or on a stage, or if it is just something you're doing in your own little corner of the world, being this beautiful, living role model, this living example, this living embodiment of Christ-like love, of Christ-like kindness, Christ-like forgiveness, Christ-like compassion, however it looks, there's no doubt in my mind that the impact that you have will be great. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. But let's get into the cards. Let's see what other messages want to be shared with you. Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves. Why is Leo here? What other messages need to be shared with them, please? Thank you. Thank you. Divine orchestration. There it is. Confirmation. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Oh, my Lord. Yes. Thank you so much. This is glorious. So we start off with protection. Call back your power. Cut the cords. Soul retrieval. So again, what you have been experiencing up to this point, especially in your more recent past, has been to protect you. It has been to prepare you, has been so that you can clearly see what's what, who's who, and you can snip, snip. It also feels as though especially if you have gone through a period of isolation or what feels like isolation, a period of separation, being set apart from, a hermit season, it is likely that this has been for you to call back that power to yourself, because it feels like there were, how would you say, like too many cooks in the kitchen, right? It felt as though there were too many energies feeding off of you, pulling on you, too many forces with their hands in the pot. And so this period of separation feels like Christ, the angels were working with you for you to be able to cut those cords, for you to be able to call back your power from these things that were running amok, that were siphoning your energy, that were calling the shots. And that could be as simple as making you feel small. Okay? You're not good enough. You're too much. You'll never blah, blah, blah. Whatever the story is, it has been for you to really come back to yourself and to remember who you are as a soul, to remember that you are an eternal being, that you are a child of God, that you matter. This time apart has been necessary. And there is what appears to be an eclipse in the background there. This could have just been a period of facing your own darkness, being in the darkness, okay? And learning how to navigate that darkness, learning how to protect yourself in that darkness through discernment, okay? Interestingly, we have, following that, the Council of Light, divine orchestration, helpers in the subtle realms. Though you may have felt alone in a physical, worldly sense, you never have been. And on this card is Christ and beings like Christ, these more exalted spiritual beings. You've certainly never been alone in this. You have had a lot of help. It speaks to that beautiful relationship, that reverent relationship between God, Christ, the angels, and yourself. I also feel that during this period, there's been this darkness that you have found yourself in. And that has been to allow, if you will, God, Christ, the angels, or whatever it is you pray to be the light that you turn to be, again, kind of more reliant on God, instruction from God, to be obedient to God. We also have Pillar of Light. Your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. What did I say? I have no doubt in my mind that whatever you do is going to have an impact. Pillar of Light. What did I say? You're meant to hold the line, to anchor in that Christ energy. You can't make this up. Whatever plan, Leo, whatever plan Christ and the angels and God have for you moving forward, it's not going to look like your past. It's not. What that's going to look like is going to be different for each of you, but that darkness, you are coming out of that. Things are shifting towards the light. Again, that's not to say you won't be challenged. You most certainly will. I don't doubt that for a second. You most certainly will be challenged. You most certainly will experience tests and darkness. But the way that you experience it is not going to be the same. Because now you are moving from this space where you know with certainty that you're not moving alone. You know that you have this support that cannot be seen with physical eyes. You know you have this support from the subtle realms, from the angelic hierarchy, the spiritual hierarchy. You know you're not doing this alone. And so moving through darkness is going to be much different. What else for Leo, please? Funny. So the moon from the other deck actually flopped into my lap, and I had another card in my hand at the same time, and it was actually Leo. So it's interesting that that card would show up, but you could have your moon in Leo, and that could be a sign for you as well. Thank you. Oh my Lord, look at that. The world, Leo. Something tells me that during this period that Christ and the angels have been working on you, you may have been learning how to better navigate your emotions and to deal with your own emotions, because you feel things so deeply. And moving forward, again, you're going to have to be able to have that discernment. You're going to have the courage and strength to say, that's not happening, to say no, to turn people away, to cut people off. You've likely had to, through this time, address things that you hadn't previously, and to get real comfortable being vulnerable with your own emotions. That's not to say that you've been sharing with other people, but learning how to sit with them yourself, not running away from the depth of your emotions, the weight of your emotions, but actually allowing yourself to feel them and navigate them. That way they don't have this power over you. They don't have the ability to control you or to put you in a space of fear. Because it's not about avoiding them. It's not about pushing them to the side. It's about feeling them, regardless of how deep they are, how much they may hurt, and learning how to navigate that and being okay with it. Oh, I'm getting fear. Yeah, that's really hard. How do we want to... Okay. So this moon coming through has given you this opportunity to see through the illusion, especially with regard to your emotions, especially with regard to any trauma, wounding, or programming that you have been carrying. It feels as though there's been some clarity that has taken place. There's, again, this ability to see through the illusion. There's so much on this card that speaks to what I was just saying. We have the dark wolf on the one side, the light wolf on the other. Again, really learning how to discern light from dark. We have this, woman here in this deep water, really giving us confirmation for learning how to navigate the depth of your emotions, the depth of your intuition, learning how to navigate your intuition, learning how to sit with your emotions, to sit with what you feel, but not drowning in them. Page of Cups in the reverse. Yeah, to not get lost. Page of Cups can be this immature emotional energy. So again, it's overcoming that. It is learning how to navigate that. But also to not get lost in, we'll say, fantastical stories. So, for example, sometimes when we feel things so deeply, we can create even more suffering for ourselves through this, almost like this embellishing of the story, if that makes sense. Like, we can give it more weight than what it actually deserves, what it actually requires. And so that can make things that much harder on ourselves. So I really feel as though this is speaking to the development of that emotional maturity that I was speaking of. This also speaks heavily to your intuition, learning to navigate that, learning to trust it, developing it. So the time that you've spent alone with these spiritual forces has been allowing you to do that, has provided you the time to do that. While that may have been incredibly challenging, it may have been quite the struggle, it has been for you. Six of Wands in the reverse. This also seems to speak to, with us following the moon and this Page of Cups in the reverse, but just before the world, there's a feeling of maturing beyond needing that public recognition, realizing how futile that is, realizing how unimportant it is to be recognized by the world, to be celebrated by the world, by the public, how that's not all it's cracked up to be, how that's not what's important. Being recognized by the world isn't the important part, but the impact that you have on it is. So it feels as though you may have been someone who at some point was very much engaged with those lower egoic drives, where you wanted to be seen, your ego wanted to be seen, wanted to be heard, wanted to be acknowledged, and have since released the illusion that the world can give around being publicly recognized, right? In our current day, that Six of Wands can often be associated with like the influencer, being seen by the masses, and that can really pollute reality. It can really warp how we perceive reality. And so this may be an illusion that has now fallen to the wayside, and you're realizing, or have, with the work that has been done on you, that that's not what's important. That the impact that you have on the world, being of service to the world, to humanity, is what will bring you that fulfillment. It's what will bring you that feeling of wholeness or completion, right? Being of service is where the real treasure lies. This is something that you may have come to realize. Ace of Cups. Come on. So one of the quotes I'm getting is, what is it to gain the world but lose one's soul, or something like that? This is probably a realization you've come to, Leo. With the World and Ace of Cups, it really is showing that deeper meaning, the fulfillment that is found in that deeper meaning, in being driven by love and being driven by these deeper spiritual concepts, right? Again, of being of service, being loving, being kind, being compassionate, opening your heart to people, holding that love, being a pillar of that. It's finding that fulfillment, that completion in that. And this feels like the point you're starting from now. This feels like the direction you are now moving in has that at the forefront. That's the priority. That's what's important. Putting God first, God's purpose over your life, being of service first, above the world, when we consider it from this more material perspective. This is absolutely beautiful, Leo. I love the confirmation that's coming through here for you. What more for Leo, please? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we have here, yes, Chiron, core wounds, vulnerability, potential through pain. Abso-friggin-lutely. Your Chiron could be in Leo, and that could be additional confirmation for you. The story of Chiron is, he was orphaned, and he was in so much pain that he just wanted to die, but couldn't. And so eventually, long story short, of course, eventually, he ended up becoming one of the greatest healers and teachers. And so this is really speaking to Leo, how all of these things that you've experienced can be used for God's good. How there is potential in that pain, how it has created in you this being that now has this incredible potential for love, this incredible capacity for love and potential to be of service with this heart of gold that you have. It also speaks to the vulnerability that I touched on earlier, really allowing yourself the opportunity to feel what you need to feel and go through what you need to in order to move forward from it, in order to allow yourself to release it, and in order to be able to navigate those really challenging emotions. But this truly is confirmation of being able to look back on what you have experienced and seeing how God is now able to use that for his purposes, for you to be this anchor of love, for you to perhaps share your story, how you have now been able to become this tool for Christ, this vessel for the angels, this tool for God. Quincunx, dissonance, adjustment, discord. The way that it's showing up is almost this internal battle with yourself about whatever's unfolded and how you've had to navigate that. And perhaps for a long time, you were at war with yourself as a result of some of these things that you've experienced. Some of this incredible pain, these wounds that you've been carrying, it feels like it had you at war with yourself for a long time, especially with regard to your mind. I'm hearing it's like this constant chatter within your mind. You're not enough. You'll never be enough, no matter how much you give. Like there's a lot of that kind of energy, a lot of those kinds of things that I'm hearing, which could have plagued you for a long time. This feels like disassociating. It feels like separating yourself, not allowing yourself to feel things because it's caused you so much pain to feel so deeply in the past that you may have just kind of started to shut down to that, repressed it, suppressed it, whatever it is. And this whole process has been to break that down, to address it, to have to come face to face with it. Equinox, commitment, integration, shifts. Yeah, absolutely. There's been this integration period, this integration of your wounds. Because here's the thing about Chiron. It's not about denying the wound. It's really not about not having it or about getting rid of it. It's about embracing it. It's about accepting it and using it. So previously you could have just been very maybe ashamed or disconnected in some way for whatever reason from these things you've experienced that have caused you so much pain. But through this period that you've had with God and the angels and Christ working on you, it has been an integration of those wounds, and it may be what has allowed you to shift to, instead of deny them or be afraid of them, to accept them and to recognize that it is something that can be a source of power for you. It can be something that is essentially one of your greatest allies. It can be something that you can use to help other people. And earth, pragmatic, grounded, enduring. To bring these gifts to the earth, to share them with the earth. But also, I feel like this is really speaking to how much it is actually taken for you to arrive at this place. It also speaks to how the work that has been done has positioned you to be able to endure facing that darkness, as I shared earlier, both internally and externally. Let's get some final messages. Final messages for Leo, please. Okay. So you have the Panther in the out of balance position, the Dragonfly, the Hyena in the out of balance position, and the Moth in the out of balance position. You have fire and air energy showing up. The Panther is this energy of annihilation and purging. And I feel as though essentially what this is giving me is you had to let yourself be laid to rest. You had to let these previous versions of yourself be laid to rest. You had to purge these versions of yourself to be born into something new. And in your willingness to purge these wounds, to recognize the potential through the pain, you've been able to master your mind to some degree. With the Dragonfly. The Dragonfly is the master of the mind. You've been able to see through the illusions that the lower egoic drives can create through our pain. The discord that it can create. And it's interesting because the hyena symbolizes this humor, this sarcasm. And you may have been moving through life believing that you're a joke, right? You could have maybe not taken your goals seriously, and that could have something to do with the way people mocked and scoffed at the dreams you've had and shared. You could have bought that as truth and just been running with it. With the Moth, it's this impulsive energy, this hasty kind of energy. And so through this annihilation process, it seems as though you've been able to master your mind and actually perceive yourself as someone valuable, someone who has something important, something that matters to share, a purpose that matters, and have also learned how to not be impulsive, how to not just, take a bite and run with it, to not just take everything at face value, but to see through the illusion. Again, it is about learning how to discern. and not just externally being able to discern dark from light, but to discern it as it's moving through you. Because whether anyone wants to believe it or not, admit it or not, we all have the capacity for darkness. We all have darkness within us. So I feel moving forward, these tools that you have been developing are going to be of great use to you. It's actually reminding me of a quote, and forgive me because I don't speak Latin, but I believe the quote is from Ovid, and essentially it translates to English as, someday this pain will be useful to you. And that is what this feels like. That is what a big majority of this message is coming through as. Yes, you have been through these terrible things, these painful things, and all the while have done your best to try to not let it taint you, darken you, harden you. And because you've kept that thread of light, right? You've allowed that to remain within you. God has seen you and said, I can use that person. That person is not willing to let themselves be darkened, to be consumed by darkness or evil. And I can use that. They may need a little bit of tweaking. They may need some refinement. We may have to do a little bit of work on Leo, but we can use that heart of gold to anchor love into the planet when we need it the most. We can use Leo to spread love and be generous and kind and compassionate and to keep this open heart. And that is so beautiful. I pray that something here has resonated with you, that it has been valuable, useful to you in some way, shape, or form, that it's provided some kind of confirmation or clarity as you move forward with your journey. If something has resonated with you, please like this video or comment below. Thank you again so much for being here. It's been my absolute pleasure to be here with you. I'm sending so much love your way. Take care of your golden heart, your beautiful, evolving soul. Peace be with you and within you. I cannot wait to see what you do, and I hope to see you in another chat. Bye.